Hello Star Trek fans, welcome back to the channel and another Star Trek Fleet Command video. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, so there's no in-game content so to speak. Today's video is just for fun. And what we're going to look at is all of the ships that appear in Star Trek Fleet Command that have also appeared in either a mainstream Star Trek movie or a mainstream Star Trek TV series. So we're going to be discounting the animated series, going to be discounting Star Trek Online, any fan fiction, or Star Trek Renegades, which was really awful. Now, as I see it, the ships fall into one of three categories. Straight up copies, so for example the Enterprise, they couldn't really mess around with that. Ships that have been inspired by ships that appear in the movies or TV series, but they've called them something different for game purposes. Or ships that just don't appear, so they're complete works of fiction made up by the art department to fill a gap. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So the first ship that appears on screen that you might not think of straight away is, you're looking at it, your space dock. So for those of you that haven't seen the 2009 Star Trek movie, here's how it looks on screen. So slowing the footage down there a little bit, we can see that Scopely have got all the major elements of the space dock correct. So the dock arms, the defensive ring. The only thing that they haven't quite got right in the game is the scale. So as you know, when you launch a ship, it physically looks like the ship is too big to fit in the space dock, at least once it's out. Here you can see how all of those ships would fit inside that space dock and could be built. But other than that, it's a pretty good representation. So we kick off with the ECS Fortunate as seen in game here, and as seen in the Star Trek Enterprise episode Fortunate Son, getting into a bit of a tussle with another on-screen ship, the Nausicaan Raider from in-game. Gets its ass kicked, and as you might imagine, the Enterprise comes to its rescue. Now the next ship might come as a bit of a surprise to you, but it is the Horizon, and by extension the North Star and all of the grade 3 faction miners. So here it is appearing on screen. As you can see, that long trailer section. However, unlike in-game, the Horizon has got some special tricks that it doesn't do in-game. So it drops off the trailer. The ship is only the truck, the tractor bit that carries it. That's just a trailer, and it does a little bit of battle with this raider here again. This other larger ship doesn't appear in game at all. But can you imagine if your faction miner was this awesome? So next up is the Backless, a ship we should all be familiar with. Now this ship appears in Star Trek Enterprise in 2 episodes. First one is Fusion. We get a decent look at it, and this ship is actually called the Backless. And then the next one is Season 3. I don't remember the name of the episode, but we can see the Vulcan High Command using Backless ships as warships. So there you go, there's 1, 2, 3. Obviously doing, ignore those Kumaris for now, we're going to look at those later. Next up is the Gladius, although more commonly referred to as a Romulan warbird in series. Now I'm not going to talk over the next bit, just going to let you look at it in Star Trek. Next up is the Bortas, although in-game, although you all know this as the Bortas, it's actually just a D7 class cruiser. This is the IKS Bortas from the canon TV series and movies, but by the by, here is the ship in action in Undiscovered Country.
What's happened? We have...
You listening?
She's spinning out of control.
And it's coming back online and it's looking angry.
They're preparing to fire.
Next up is the Franklin, and as most of you know, this appeared in the Star Trek movie Star Trek Beyond. So here it is, buried under some rubble because reasons, and jump starting it from a planet because reasons. I'm just going to let this play out for a little while. Oh no, will the main cast survive this ship, or will it crash and the movie will be over? Come on, Uncommon Sulu. Don't test me. Now this ship's definitely tier 9. And that swarm is definitely at level 35. Haha, Mighty Swarm, I can take you. I have Cadet Tuhura. Although he's increasing my warp range and that's not really that much use.
Make some noise.
Next up is the Mayflower, and this is a very specific ship, not to be confused with the Reliant from the Wrath of Khan, and it can be seen on screen for a brief few seconds there, just passing across the screen. And one more time, just a little bit slower, right in the view screen there, you can see it pan from right to left. And then once again, and that's the last we see of an intact Mayflower because it appears destroyed at the Battle of Vulcan. So go back in time a bit to Star Trek Enterprise, and here is the Kumari, the ship we all wanted when we realised we couldn't get the Enterprise in the first 2 weeks. We briefly saw it when we featured the Backless. Here she is in all her glory. Next up is the Jellyfish, as seen in the 2009 Star Trek movie, and the Scourge of levels 14 through 21. As flown by Rare Spock. Oh, the Vidar. I mean, Narada. And... boom, goodbye. Now the Braille was harder to classify than all the other ships because it suits the profile of two, a Klingon Raptor from the Enterprise series and a Bird of Prey from Next Generation and others. Note the similarities, the scaffold down the side of the neck, but here on a Bird of Prey it also fits the profile. Here's a Bortas getting blown up because it looks cool. And here's the Negvar with actual Bortas. Next up is the Romulan Argo, and while not appearing itself, its design is so heavily influenced by the D. Deridax class Romulan warbird, it would be wrong not to include it. Next up is the USS Saladin, and it's a technicality because it appears once in the Wrath of Khan for a second on a monitor in the background. There it is, in all its glory. Next up is the Romulan Centurion, although in Star Trek Nemesis it's actually a Valdor class Romulan warbird. So I'll leave you watch the combat scenes here. As you can see, it's unmistakably a Centurion. And here Shinzon's been watching a bit of Top Gun, hit the brakes, he'll fly right by us. And last but no means least, the ship everybody wanted. The reason why we played the game was the Enterprise from the 2009 movie. So first of all, we'll see it in space dock, the first time the cadets saw it. And then it rescuing Spock, a bit of battle. And I'll leave the video play out with the Enterprise A. So this is a re-upload to anyone that's seen it. I had to take out the music of this final scene because for the 7 seconds it played, UMC claimed it as copyright material. So I guess I'll talk my way through the end of it. I do love the design of the Enterprise A. I think it's a better shape than the original. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. If you like the type of content I make, please drop the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, but until next time, I'll see you out there.